Hello, namaste, and welcome to the Khushbu Ved Show. Well, before I begin with today's discussion and topic, I must thank you all for sharing so much love and appreciation for our podcast and so many feedbacks in terms of what would you like to hear next and what else should I do. And I think it's only a very overwhelming feeling. I'm feeling really, really excited to do more podcasts and do more episodes. So thank you so much for sharing so much of joy and love with us. And now, if you notice, every time I have tried to cover a topic or a discussion which would actually, sort of help us in our daily lives. Now, this is something I have been personally going through, and a lot of my friends are, and a lot of my clients are going through, which is from the last 1.5 year, we are all staying at our home and we are also working from home. And this bit has caused a lot of, at the beginning it was comfort, but now beyond the comfort, you wish there was a space which was your home and a space which was your office, much like your previous time, where you went to office, came back home and you felt at peace, at calm. So now that is not the case, or rather we don't have that option of stepping out. How about making sure that the space that we have for ourselves is so good, and if we can actually make a small change and possibly create a space which will make us feel like, okay, this is my space to work from, and this is my space where I can just possibly relax, chill, have a drink, or have a great coffee and have a great, great day and talk to my parents or talk to my friends or talk to my husband about how my day was at work. So what is this exactly called? Well, all of this is actually called as environmental psychology. What is environmental psychology? Where very simply, it is a body of research that actually studies as to how living spaces affect our mental well-being. Well, really, I mean, you may think ऐसी भी कोई चीज है. Actually, there is a thing like that. What does it really mean? Basically, everything around our house affects our mood. The way we arrange the room, the way the sunlight enters the room, the way we place greenery or plants around our house, everything affects our emotional state. So I thought, why not actually cover this topic, which is how your space designs can affect your well-being. And when I thought about this topic, I couldn't think of anybody better than somebody very, very special and dear to me. Well, I am talking about the founder and principal designer of Purple Backyard. Who is she? Well, she is somebody who has a background in space designing and styling from Central St. Martin's, London. She is a professionally trained interior designer from Rachna Sansad School of Interior Design in Mumbai. She has had an early opportunity of nurturing her talent and passion by working with illustrious designers in the city. She believes in the concept of learning and unlearning. And I'm talking about also my very dear little sister, who I'm extremely proud of. I am actually talking about Kumpal Ved, and I am so, so proud of welcoming her to our episode. Kumpal, welcome.
Thank you, Kushi. This is so amazing. I am so glad that we've decided to do this. And obviously, you've been instrumental in pushing me towards, sort of getting on to talking about spaces and mental health, things that we've always spoken about at home. And what better place to, share those thoughts and ideas here than anywhere else. So I'm glad we're doing this.
Yes, absolutely. So am I. In fact, this is one platform that I thought I should definitely share with you. People always say that we take people who are closer to us a little for granted. And I think, Kumpal, you've also shared this with me. In fact, taught me this a lot of times in life, that you should say consciously a little more thank you and sorry to people who are the closest to you. So I think I should give you complete credit for learning this from you. And of course, while I always have been fond of or have sort of felt like this is my calling, where I wanted to be on the path of becoming an empowerment coach, and I thought that I really wanted to go out there, help people in a way where I can listen to them, understand people, understand their emotions, understand the state of well-being that they are in, or whichever state that they are in. It really impacts our daily life. And I am so happy today that actually we got you on board and you're going to talk about designing. You're possibly going to contribute and help so many people out here in ways that they can create spaces in which they would not just love to live every day in these kind of scenarios, but in general would love to, just have a beautiful space, thereby have a beautiful state of mind and also feel beautiful inside out. So I am so excited for this. I have another question for you. Tell me something. What's your approach? How do you really understand and discover your client? Every client is different. Every client's expectation is different, right? So, हर घर कुछ अलग सा होता है. हर बंदा अलग होता है. So, how do you find the balance?
So before we get into that, I just want to thank you. You've said such amazing things about me. Not that you don't leave any opportunity to sort of show your affection. And I am sort of a little bad at it, but I just want to thank you for that here on this platform. Sort of formally telling me this. I think it's a great moment for me as a little sister. Because I've learned from you over the years. You are just absolutely being humble here. I mean, you've done such amazing things, running an event management company to this coaching, then the Quintessence experience. Oh my God, like how do you do this? So I think I'm still learning, and I'm learning from you. I think I cannot help but make this like a mutual admiration society right now. And I just want to say that, more power to you. And I hope that this show reaches millions and zillions of people, and, it impacts their life in the way you are hoping it could. So all the best. So coming back to, and sorry, but I think I'm going to call you Khushi, because for me, calling you Khushbu is a very difficult task. So I'll try, but I don't promise. Okay, to start with, your first question. So I have a very simple way of sort of, a way that I call it a workshop. So when I meet, the end user for the first time, a homeowner or a office owner, a space owner, I love to sit with them and have like a workshop wherein we show them layouts, understand what their preferences are, how do they feel about the space, what is the end goal with the space that they want to achieve. So I think any space is a reflection of the user more than just the interior designer making it beautiful, because that personalization, that little character is going to be added to that story of that house through that person's personality. So it is very important for me and my studio that, the person's personality or the person living there sort of feels like this is designed by me, or this is for me, and nobody else has this. So we reach that point by a lot of workshops, which are basically a lot of conversations, other than just what your design style is and what your design preference is, what kind of a person you are, what would you want the space to make you feel like, what would each space in your room, in your house be like. The living room, what are the kind of activities are you going to hold in the living room? Are you just going to use it as a family room or a formal living setup, or is it going to be a TV room as well, right? So a few questions like these that make them think and identify the purpose of each room, through which we sort of decode what would an ideal space be for them. And then obviously, the mood boards and the designs that we put on the 3D, and then the whole journey begins. But essentially, there's a lot of workshopping that we do to understand them better and to help reflect their personality into spaces better. So yeah, that in a nutshell is my process.
My God, wow. I mean, Kumpal, that's a lot of hard work. I mean, I used to just feel that, you got to design, you got to create, and that's about it. There is so much to be thinking at the background, at the base of everything. I mean, get into the paperwork, get into sketching, the designing, the line drawings. So much more. Wow, this is a beautiful journey for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like if a designer is just going to come in and be like, "Hey, I'm a minimalist," or "I am a traditionalist," and your space should look like this, I would say that they could sort of approach the whole scene in a manner that what are your preferences and what do you feel the space should do for you? Because I think we're just a medium through which they get their houses made. And yeah, there'll always be purple backyard designs showing, indirectly in each space. But why does the portfolio look so different yet similar? Because these are different personalities, these are different homes, different peoples, different mental bandwidths that we're talking about. So yeah, that's how I look at spaces and space designing.
Right. I mean, totally I agree with you, but I guess there is one thing we think that is similar in all of them is the amount of love and dedication that you and your team is putting in. So I think that is something you would see Purple Backyard as a company that leaves a touch behind every house that's done by them. And I think that is great, isn't it?
Yeah, I think here's a big shout out to my team. They are amazing. They're like ninjas who would leave no stone unturned to make things happen. Even before I would sort of sound it off them. If they know about it, they'll go ahead, do it, and they'll be like, "Okay, Kumpal, this is the solution. We've gone ahead with this," and I'll be like, "Okay, wow." So they are the true ninjas that make the entire work sort of come together.
Oh yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, Kumpal. For all those people who think that maybe a podcast is something that, and all of this tam jam that I'm doing is all by my own, absolutely not. Let me tell you, there is a very dear team of mine who's working very, very hard at the back end to make sure and help me make sure that everything is making sense, not just in front of the camera, but also the way, everything is presented to you even before and after. Because of all this, even I am learning every day. There are things which have to be a little more minimal, of course, because of this lockdown, but yet again it has been a beautiful journey because of the fact that I have this team to support me always. So now tell me, Kumpal, actually this whole new lockdown has happened. Every month or two you see there is a new phase of lockdown 1, lockdown 2, lockdown 3. Now there's this entire worry that has happened about the wave 3. I mean, literally, if I have to think of it, for the last 1.5 year, we all have literally stayed indoors. And, with most of our time being spent indoors, how can the space we occupy be more inclusive and yet exclusive? Can you give us some suggestions?
This is such an interesting question, but I have a slightly different take, and I think I've got this take through you. That I think it is all about it's up here. It's all about in your head, discipline. So yes, design can help segregate spaces, make those partitions, make those dedicated utility or functional spaces within your living, study, or guest rooms. You could sort of make them multi-purpose, all of that. But I guess it's more to do with discipline. That while you assign a zone or a tasks to a zone, are you really, how do you get started with your day, how do you sort of end your day? And I think more than me, so I could give so many design inputs, right? But here I think it's more to do with discipline. So I think I would want you to tell me that how do you think one can be more disciplined in terms of getting their day started, making sure the spaces that we design and assign tasks to are better utilized, or this whole idea of inclusive and exclusive, how does one really make that demarcation mentally? I guess that's where the real answer to this question is.
I completely agree with you, like 110%. The way a person perceives or believes, or rather, like the way he or she is actually manifesting, how he or she would like the day to be. If you're really conscious to look at a day, it technically just turns out the way you had decided it to be. And maybe the previous night before you went off to sleep, if you actually spoke to your head and you spoke to your mind and said that this is the way I want my day to be, I'm telling you, I am a firm believer that this is exactly how it would turn out to be. And I'm also a firm believer, that you don't have to go mad about this entire positivity. We had actually done an episode about toxic positivity, because it's not like you got to have a positive spin to every emotion or every element that happens to your life. But it's about having the right mindset, which is very important. Forming that, really affirming the fact that, just make sure what I really, really consciously am believing in, and I'm going to wanting to do that. I mean, this is going to sound very funny to a lot of people, but actually talking to your pillow. I mean, a lot of people may not believe this, but talking to your pillow before you go off to sleep every night is one of the most comfortable elements on this earth. Why? Because you got to place your head on it, and you got to make sure that you can talk to it every day. And trust me, it has to be one of your closest, dearest, and most important person. And if I had to really tell my pillow, hey, look, this is how I want the day to be, or even for that matter, what time you want it to wake you up in the morning, intentionally, unintentionally, I am telling you, you're going to have a great day. You're going to wake up at a particular time, and it's really funny, but it just generally happens. And once there is something that has been asked out of joy, will definitely happen. Now, beyond that, what really happens is the kind of space you're staying in. So, of course, to answer your question, the kind of lights, colors, configuration, the kind of materials that you're actually using really, really impacts the mental state. So, for example, while I'm extremely fond of white as a color with a little bit of, vibrant colors here and there, I love it when I see your work. I mean, it just seems so surreal. I mean, it seems pleasing to the eyes. So I don't know what is it about your work, of course, apart from the fact that I really know you in person, but it generally feels so good. It's like the space that I would love to have needs to have a lot of natural lighting. And that's the space I live in. Like, I have a big window. There is a lot of light coming in. It's a big relief. I sit over there. I like to pray. I do my affirmations, my journal writing in the morning from my bed. I sit over there. I write, and I just need to get that natural lighting to feel in my Zen mode. All these things really, really impact and make a big difference. They make me feel better, and hence I feel like that. The fact that a great space, the fact that you stay in a space, however big or small it is, if it is the way you would like it to be, then it just makes you feel different. Like you mentioned earlier, it was not easy for me to figure out a space saying कि अच्छा यहाँ से मैं काम करूँगी और यहाँ से मैं prayers करूँगी. So of course, all of this really, really needs to be into practice. But actually, it all comes down to one question, which is right now coming to my mind when I actually think about how spaces can create great state of mind. How do you create these kind of spaces? And I mean, everybody is not an expert. So how do we make sure traditionally it is like, the space is properly ventilated, and then the room is really airy. And with all of this happening around us where people are getting too worried about too many things, like how do you make sure that your space is created the way your client would love it? Can you give us some suggestions here?
Absolutely. So, I guess my personal preference is, airy spaces and making any kind of office, house, be it a design studio. There are so many different spaces that we've worked for, and we realize that a common thread that holds everything together for us is the airiness of the space. We try to see, where the sun is rising from, where is it setting from, what is the mood that it's going to create within the space, how is the light going to come in, and how is it going to be, how can we sort of bounce the light off different areas by using possibly, glass partitions, fabric partitions, or possibly mirror being like, one of the most known simple uses. When you think of, okay, you want to like expand the light source in the house, you will sort of strategically install a mirror. But then there are so many things like, the height of your curtain, the height of your partitions. How have you designed your wardrobe? Is it designed like a full panel, or have you traditionally cut it like, the 7 feet door and uske upar then you have a little bit of storage? So again, all these things, how are you maximizing the height? Spaces in Bombay are much better than Manhattan, where things are like a matchbox, but this is slightly bigger, right? So how do you make sure, even in the most luxury apartment, where you might not have the best ceiling height, right? How do you make sure that you maximize that? So I think we focus on filling spaces with a lot of sunlight. And we, I think our my core design style, or my style, is that spaces need to look a little more lived in, because listen, humans are living in it. It's never going to be perfect. Yeah, it might be perfect on the day I shoot it, it might be perfect in my imagination, but if humans are going to, like, we all are going to use it, it's never going to be staying the way it looked on the photo shoot day, right? Because you might keep your book possibly on the ground, on the floor, and you might not keep it on the coffee table, or you might just throw it on the bookshelf, and not even like, keep it vertically straight. So what I'm trying to say is that, the homes I try to design are considering that we're not perfect, and we're going to use it in that manner, right? So making it more lived in, more around how we really feel. The reason we do these workshops, right, is to sort of know how the person is. Is the person more, particular about things need to have particular places, or is that person more about, hey, listen, give me a decent amount of storage, but those need to be closed shutters, because I find it very difficult to maintain, organize things. So again, all these things sort of, are layers that help build us the foundation for how that space is going to be. And then, clubbed with, I like to have all spaces that I design super airy. I mean, ultimately, I think the portfolio is the end product that you end up seeing, and you end up seeing something which looks more lived in, a little more relatable, as aspirational, but a little more relatable.
So, Kumpal, tell me, would it be fair to say that before, or even before we actually plan to take up a space and get it done from any expert designer such as yours, that we need to have one thing, which is clarity of mind. Ki hame kya chahiye? What do we like? Not necessarily that it is in fashion, not necessarily what people think they like, and therefore it should be a part of my house, and how my home space should be. But it should be more about clarity of mind. Correct?
Oh God, I cannot even tell you.
I could hear you feel that when I was saying it. I think, Kumpal, I heard you well. This is what most of my clients also tend to do. And then actually, I have to have a conversation with them. I remember our coffee table discussions, where sometimes people have great ideas, and just because they feel that they don't have clarity of mind, or somebody else's house or somebody else's idea has been a super hit, it is how it needs to be for them. I totally hear you here. And I think this is one thing that people should really leave it to the experts.
I just want to add that I think through this journey of designing spaces, right, I have realized that people have a lot of misconceptions. Or rather, they are not confident enough to, break away from trends generally. Thinking that, okay, this is how the world is doing it, so let's do it this way, which is where I, want to ask them questions and understand who they really are. Because in the long run, that's more sustainable. And one part of sustainable living is designing around the true you, and not just designing around, in the today, I really like this, so let me have it. I don't know how it's going to play out in the future. And then it might be a huge impact on your pocket. Because, hey, you know what, this was trending then, and now 2 years down, I don't really like it. So I guess one of the pillars of sustainability within Purple Backyard is also talking about how does it impact you in the future. And should you really go in for something which is going to be a burden on your pocket in the future, even if it's a luxury space? I don't shy away from asking that question because I would want people to be mindful about that, considering now we're moving into, a different era, global warming, stuff like that. So yeah, don't want to make it grim for people, but I think, yeah, this awareness, just creating awareness about needs and wants, I think that's my favorite thing to do. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I genuinely believe, in fact, एक story है जो मुझे याद आ रही है. एक बहुत ही मतलब famous monk ने कहा था that if you like something, imagine that there is a flower, okay, and if you like the flower, there are chances that you will go ahead and pluck it and keep it for yourself, and after 2 days it will die off, right? But if you love the flower, you're actually going to make sure that you get the seeds, whichever are required to grow the kind of flower that you love. You'll nurture it, you'll water it, you will grow it the way you would love it in your own balcony. You will set it in the right place so that it gets enough amount of lighting. Everything that you thought you would be sharing with it, you set it in the right kind of lighting. Everything about it is just the way you wanted it to be, and thereby you've actually given birth to a new space. Oh wow, actually, when I'm saying this, it almost looks like the way you may be creating spaces. I so wish I had a new home to be built right now. But, all these little things really slowly, gradually matter in creating, a perfect space for oneself. I mean, I am personally very fond of flowers, and I'm not an expert of building nurseries and actually, getting the right set of plants and all that in the balcony or in the window. But I just naturally love houses with a lot of greenery. So what do you think about it?
So currently, because we are in a lockdown, things are getting a little more relaxed. Soon, I hope, people have been locked up in their houses. And I think the houses that we designed recently or last year, we realized we ended up creating demarcated areas for greens. It was such a big necessity. It was such a big need for people. Because I think none of us stepped out. None of us were, out and about. So we as humans, I think, had a very huge desire to be close to nature. And what better ways to have like these balconies? I think balconies and, decks are going to be back in fashion. Because I think people realize that what an outdoor, yeah. So what an outdoor space could do for them. So I think greens, merging greens into your space is a beautiful way of bringing the outdoors in. Something that I think most designers try to, do with their spaces. Because I think we all understand collectively that nature has such a great impact on our mental well-being, how we feel. The fact that when you see a new flower, a bloom, or you just that activity of going out and watering your plants, just these little things right around the house, makes you feel really happy and helps you cut off. Tying this back to the question that you asked me earlier, exclusive and inclusive. So these sort of activities help people break away in their break times at work, or possibly in the morning after coffee or before coffee. I think greens from that perspective added a lot of value. And you tell me how, I would actually want to know from you, how else do greens really affect, greens within the spaces really affect our mental well-being?
Oh my God, Kumpal. I mean, yes, definitely. Yes, and a yes to everything that you said right now. Plants are a wonderful reason, Kumpal, to just step away from this non-stop news for a moment. I mean, what is happening around us. It can actually allow us to care for a living being, because plants are actual living beings, and that in turn only creates a better environment for us. And plants in general make you feel good. Don't you feel so? You can feel happy. How do you say? Like an animal emotion that is very instinct based, like an instinct animal emotion is a thing where you actually love to see lush, healthy greens, and the entire environment that's around you because of it. It actually makes you feel also very comfortable and safe. It gives you a lot of peace of mind, a lot of comfort. It actually makes you feel more focused towards everything and anything that you want to do. Definitely, this really matters. So, definitely, I would say that it's the kind of, how do you say, even if you, even if you actually have a plant at home, it really helps you in a lot many ways. Like, how people typically say, oh, even if you don't have kids, why don't you get a pet at home? And it just generally makes you feel nice. Much like that, even if you actually get a plant at home and take care of it like a little baby, where you nurture it every day, it also teaches you how you can take care of other people. It also shows you a way in which you can share unconditional love, because you may not necessarily see a way in which it is reciprocating it to you back. Possibly it gives you a flower in return. And there are so much more and more and more about it. But at the end of it, indirectly, the little things that you really care about actually make you feel calm and make you feel more at peace. And I think all of this is really about that. And for a lot of people out there who always keep telling me that happiness is almost about something pleasurable. No, that's a lot of materialistic things that you have in your life, and hence you feel the pleasure for it. But actually, happiness is a space of zen, a space of peace of mind. So if you're actually having elements, peoples, and things around you which make you feel peaceful, then you're actually making yourself feel happy. And that is the very reason, my dear, the space that we stay in is called as a happy home. And if it is only designed and created by somebody like you, then it will be the happiest of all.
That's such a good thought. And that's just an amazing way of looking at something so simple as greens. I guess this is also time for you to be a plant mom. Because I think you would be like, I am pathetic at it. Like, I tried, but I guess I couldn't, plants at my house don't survive. I don't know what happens to them. But yeah, I absolutely love greens, and I would love to have more of, greens at home. But I try to do this, so with the spaces we design, at least in the meanwhile. And I think you should for sure get more plants. I know you have many at home already, but I think this should be pushing you further.
In fact, our mom has a beautiful little nursery in her balcony where she grows all kind of vegetables and spices in house. She also has some beautiful naturally growing flowers, which help as flowers for the mandir a lot of times. And I think she does that purely out of sheer care and dedication. I think at this point of time, you are possibly completely dedicated to your workspace, or like you always say, you always figure out an excuse. So I am possibly thinking of an excuse in my head whether do I have the time. But I think it's high time, and I think I must make some kind of time for it, and at least try and have some part of my space where I'm not just taking advantage of my mom and having a little greenery, a little plant sitting out there in the morning and just feeling good about it, and a plant which is growing along with me. And yeah, that's a good reminder. Thank you so much. Before we actually wrap up this podcast, I actually wanted to ask you, sort of discuss one last element. People often see that the kind of spaces you create actually help you boost your productivity. And especially with this whole work from home happening right now, what do you think? Could it be like there are some simple steps to sort of boost the productivity in terms of keeping your space and the way it could be, whether the space is big or small? Like, how can you show us? Can you guide us maybe as to what could it be?
So, my setup, what I've done is I've just given everything a particular space. So my desk will only have laptop, or another gadget, which is my phone, or maybe an iPad, that because I need to sketch on. right? If I'm not using the iPad, then possibly a book and a pen. But I have my planner right in front of my desk where I write all my notes, things that I'm going to do that day, calls that I have to make, people that are going to call me, or appointments that I've made. So I have it digitally, but I also have it there. So I can, at all hours, I can just see it in between calls, all of that. So I think a planner or like a whiteboard, or you would also call it a thought board. So maybe you don't need it to plan your day. You just need to sort of, put your thoughts on. And then again, I have a little wall grid where I have this little sack hanging in which I have all my books, extra stationery, some pictures and stuff like that which go on the wall. On the right, I have 3 or 4 shelves where I have some books, right? And I'm right now sitting in my study. So you see my bed at the back. So that's how I sort of, unwind in between or sort of take breaks. I'm at my study, or then maybe I'm sitting at the bed. So that's how I sort of alternate between spaces. But again, something I really try and do is keep my space very decluttered. Whenever I am, I need to take a lunch break, I will not eat on my desk. I will definitely go to the dining room or possibly the sofa in front of the TV, but I make sure that I leave this room. Right. These are the few things. Discipline of organizing things, having tasks associated with things. So you plan for it in your layout of your study, of that room possibly. And through the day when you're using it, if you have that luxury of, you can dedicate a space for that task, then don't use that room through the day. Take breaks from that space as well. So then you take a lunch break, you come back. So that way you ventured out, you're not always here on your desk, and that way you could just, simple things, but you feel refreshed. So this is how my yeah. I also have a little art piece that says "One Love." Things that make you happy. That can also be a part of your desk. So you look at it and just enjoy.
Oh yeah, and since I already have seen your desk, I think I love what you're saying. I know what you mean exactly. In fact, I'm actually going to make a special request here, and I don't know if you're okay with that. You can tell me if it's a yes or a no or a maybe, and we could send us. I mean, you could send us a little screen grab of this workspace that you're talking about, and maybe we will actually showcase this space at the end of the podcast when you're talking about it. So it will also sort of help people and understand what is the space that you are particularly, speaking of.
Absolutely. I'd love to share. So I'll share 2 pictures. One is how sometimes I also convert my dining space into my Zoom call space, because that room overlooking this nice green patch out of my window. I'll share that, and I'll share the study area. So I hope it helps.
Uh, yes, I am. I am sure people will love it. And thank you so much for all the amazing insights that you have shared with us, Kumpal. I think after all of this, we have come to the final conclusion that I would like to share with all my viewers, that is, environment in which you live and the work has a direct impact on your mental space and your mental health. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this podcast. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time, Kumpal. It's always been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. Take care and love to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Khushi, for having me. And it was an absolute fun chat. I am so looking forward to sharing pictures with you now.
Of course, thank you again to Kumpal for joining us and making this episode so very special. Looking forward to all of you joining us for another episode of the Khushbu Veg Show. Until then, bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining us always. Bye.